Can you believe it? We are live. Look at technology. During these interesting times, we're still able to get back together. I just want to welcome you all to a holiday special episode of Earth is Our Witness. My name is Parimal, and we have with us a very unusual and a very esteemed guest of photographers from all around the world. We started Earth is Our Witness, Art and I, probably in June 2020, in mid-June. And the goal was really to bring all photographers from all around the world to share stories of interconnectedness. And we've done quite a few. In fact, we have interviewed each one of you here. And it's been an amazing ride. And we thought we'd do something fun and interesting, which is bring everyone together and have a photographer's holiday party. So with that, I want to welcome each and every one of you, dear photographers. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, what a great idea.
Thank you, if I just look around, I'm not going to go introduce each person. That'll be boring, and we are not boring, right, Art? We are not boring. We are fun. Yeah. And so, real quick, we have photographers from Canada, from Ottawa, from many places in Australia, from India, from LA, from many parts of US as well. And so we have quite an eclectic group. Mark, by the way, we don't see you on video, Mark, for some reason, but as you sort that out. And I also want to welcome all our audience, who are joining us live, both on Facebook and YouTube. So the way we are going to have fun here, in addition to having great drinks, is we're going to start with the trivia. You guys are in for a trivia?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this trivia is, what I'm going to say, I have you guess the photographer once I tell you the fun fact. And each photographer has an amazing, interesting fun fact. Let's see if you guys can guess. And we'll go from there. And then after that, we'll spend some time with fun facts, and then we'll switch to images, where it'll be awesome to share one favorite image from each one of you and tell us why it's so interesting to you. So we'll switch into images. Obviously, we're photographers, so we have to have images. Ready? Yeah. Okay. This photographer was an eco-terrorist as a teenager.
Oh, that could be everybody.
Yeah.
But the word terrorist.
Terrorist. Oh, I think the most likely to be a terrorist here would be, I don't know. Oh.
I say it's Darren.
Yeah,
Darren doesn't look like a terrorist. He's such a gentle soul.
I think Phil.
I think Phil. I think Phil too. Go with Phil.
I think Robert. He's looking at Vincent right now. I think Robert.
Yeah, I'm going with Ted.
How's it making a tourist?
This is like the McCarthy hearings, and we're all outing everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
Obviously, we're wrong.
To be considered.
If we get it right, does that mean I get voted off and then one drops off and then we keep going?
Okay, you guys want to know? You want to reveal who's the terrorist? Who's the eco-terrorist here?
Wow.
I'm so
Yes.
So the story behind that is when I was 13 years old, I had a forest near my home that I and my gang of 6 kids protected. And one day a bunch of bulldozers and road graders came in to start to create over 300 houses in the forest. And one night I went down and I took out all the bulldozers and road graders by opening up all their oil shafts and pouring handful after handful of dirt and gravel. And it disabled them. And there was like 30 men that had blue tarps and very angry. And as I came home from school, I was 13 years old. They looked at me and asked where a certain kid lived. And I pointed out where that kid lived to deflect any kind of suspicion. And actually within a week, the developer died from a stroke. Story. But he was 92 years old.
Okay.
And,
what did you pour in his drink?
The family donated the forest in his name to the city of Seattle, and today it is a forested park. So that's my story.
Wow. Well
It's
done.
amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing. Okay. Second one. Wishes. When I asked the question, what do you wish for next year? The answer was that we are visited by non-violent extraterrestrials.
Mark Edward Harris.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, that sounds like
No,
a mark.
that's Phil.
Why is everyone jumping to poor
Nevada.
Phil?
Yeah.
That's right. Robert, you're right. How did you guess that? It is Nevada.
Well, there you go.
He's
Right on
traveled with
Nevada.
me. He knows how I feel about this. I want to see it in my lifetime. I really do. But no anal probes, no pins in the eyeballs. I want to see him come down. I'm a science fiction fan from when I could just begin to read. So yeah. That's
Wow.
But you do live in Santa Fe.
Yeah, that's not Roswell, baby. That's a long way away. I want definitive. I want like real, can't dispute.
It'd
I
be
wanna
wonderful,
see it.
wouldn't it?
Okay.
If you
I-
see them, well, are you going to tell everybody? What if they only come and
What?
see you?
No. I want it for all over.
Everyone.
I want it to be for real. I want it. No, if it's just me, that's disputed. I want it
Hey,
for
Nevada.
everybody.
In
Yeah.
Nevada, I'm single. So if there's a really beautiful alien, please let me know. Okay.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Species love.
Yeah.
Move on, Parimal,
Okay.
move on.
Move on. Okay. This one is really interesting. This person is extremely superstitious. If things are going well, this person will wear the same clothes for days, weeks, or even months. Same clothes for
Oh
even.
God, that's so Darren. That's
I've never seen Darren.
Phil.
that's Darren.
Day one.
Well, we'll see how it goes. He hasn't said that excuse before, but yes, Darren.
Yeah, no, that's not me.
Any other guesses?
I would say it's got to be Robert because he's a psychiatrist.
Close, but not the prize.
Bandeep, what do you think?
No guesses there.
No guesses.
Shivang, he's quiet down there.
He's
I
quite
think
down
it-
there. Yeah.
I think it has to be a.
There's a photo.
I think it has to be a male. I don't think one of the females would do that.
I would.
Would? Okay, in that case, it's Amy.
Okay.
Sorry.
Here's the answer. Is our friend from India, Shivang Mehta. Shivang.
Hey, I did guess him.
Wow.
I'm
Well-
wearing the same jacket for the past 7 days. I'm sitting in the middle of tiger country and in the same jacket, camera trapping tigers out here.
Yeah,
So,
that's
Shivang,
kinda-
I have a question for you. If that includes your underwear, what do you do after 1 month? Do you burn it, bury it? Like, what do you do?
Well,
Okay.
underwear can be worn in various ways.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Up and
Okay.
down.
Never mind.
Do you have to stay upwind from the tigers then, or is it downwind?
I'm sure it would be downwind.
That's how he gets such good pictures. Oh, that's
He's dedicated.
Darren knows.
Yeah.
When Darren got painted, I was not changing my clothes so that he has some good sightings.
yeah. Thank you.
Although I got to say, someone on social media, Dolores, guessed all 3 correct. So there's someone else who knows all of you much better than we know each other. That's impressive.
Really? Wow.
That's impressive. I don't know how she figured. I don't know how she figured Shivang's underwear thing. I have no idea. But okay, moving on. This is going to be a little bit of a giveaway, but let's still try it. Sometimes this person sleeps like a damsel in an old black and white Charlie Chaplin movie. Sleeps like a damsel in an old black and white Charlie Chaplin movie.
Sleeps.
It's like a dancer, did you say?
Damsel. Damsel. D-A-M-A.
Damsel in distress. Damsel in distress, you're saying?
Damsel.
Jasmine.
Jasmine. Who guessed that? Wow, how did you guess that?
Well, I was looking for damsel and yeah.
I must look so distressed. Oh my goodness.
Okay, that's good, Bandeep. I think Bandeep has just finally woken up after some chai in the morning. I can tell. The brain is working. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. This is a really good one. I shouldn't say that. Actually, let me skip the year because that might this person in the past smuggled cars from Munich to Afghanistan. Smuggled cars from Munich to Afghanistan.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, that could
So it's
be
essentially a smuggler. Who
anybody.
looks like a smuggler? Who looks like a smuggler here?
Ted.
Okay, Richard.
Richard. Yeah, Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah, Richard. I'm thinking Richard.
It's
From
not
Munich.
me.
Oh, it's
No,
Ted.
it's
He's going to
Phil.
pass it off. Then it's
So I
Phil.
think it's Phil.
Smuggler. Phil.
Who said Phil?
Me.
Wow, that is right. That is correct. Richard, Jasmine, that is correct. Phil, what's the story?
So I was broke, and the only way I could travel back, I just graduated from dental school, and I hitchhiked to Europe, across the country, and it was 1969, and everybody was going to this concert up in New York, and I didn't have time to go, so I went on to Europe and started hitchhiking. I got down to Munich, and at the Hofbrauhaus, I met a couple of Iranians and some English guys that bought Mercedes-Benz in Munich for like $400 or $500. They could sell them in Afghanistan for $4,000. So they just needed drivers. So they paid us 100 Deutschmarks at the time to drive these cars to Afghanistan. But I bailed out in Istanbul. I didn't make it.
Were you shooting at that time?
Oh.
They were so dishonest, and they were smuggling gold and I don't know what all. They would park the cars or leave us off in there were 13 of us all together. They just rounded up a bunch of hippies and had them drive the cars, and they would stop in these campgrounds and leave us all there, and then they would take the cars and unload whatever was in them. And it became apparent that what the deal was, I don't want to take too much time, they would sign our names into those cars into our passports. So when you entered Afghanistan, you had to leave with the car or have it signed out of your passport. And they were promising to forge our names and sign them out of our passports. But if you didn't, you paid the tax. And that was the difference in price between the 500 and the 4,000. It was all tax.
Wow.
So it became apparent that they were a little bit too dishonest, and I bailed out in the middle of the trip.
Where did you bail out?
Istanbul.
Istanbul. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the real story is he met someone beautiful in Istanbul and he had to make the right choice. I think.
Married the person that I met in the Hofbrauhaus that night, but we just were together one night, and then I went off to Afghanistan. We hooked up later.
Wow, that's good. That's Phil. I
Good
like
story.
Phil.
Romance
You are my hero.
Wow.
I will call you for some notes on dating, Phil, later. Okay. Okay. Next.
That's what you got out of that? That's what you got out of that?
No, I'm slow.
Everything anybody says, that's what he gets out of it. Must be very
I'm with
desperate.
you, Michelle.
He, You need Todd from eHarmony.
Okay. This person is an aspiring golf pro, and someday dreams to beat Mark Edward Harris at golf.
Oh,
I know who that is. I know who that is. Can I say it's Michelle for sure? But it depends which tees you play from. If you play from the back tees,
you want to play, Betty? No problem.
I think you'll beat me. I think she will beat me. I'm looking forward to that tournament.
I know.
Okay.
Anyone want to join us? We're gonna have.
Come on, we got room for 2 more.
Oh.
Join the foursome.
no.
Who plays golf?
Who plays golf?
No.
What's wrong with
Oh, Mark, it's just you and I.
All right, Michelle, let's go. Let's get our own Zoom thing going.
Okay. Okay. Speaking of sports, if not a photographer, this person would be a pro tennis player or a pro soccer player, and also loves to make Negronis.
Negronis.
What is that?
What's that?
What's a Negroni? We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. Once we reveal, okay, who is a almost pro tennis player or a pro soccer player as an alternate career?
Cat.
Can't check out everyone's legs.
Richard.
Richard. Bandeep thinks Richard.
Yep.
Richard.
Definitely Richard.
That's pretty confident. Darren, Bandeep, and Jasmine. What makes you guys say it's Richard? I mean, you haven't seen his legs, have you?
Yeah, we haven't seen his legs, but you know,
My legs are good.
He's got long legs.
Can you
My
show
legs
us?
are good.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's him. It's him.
It used to be good.
But remember, this is
Don't
a
stop
process
there,
of
Art.
elimination. So it is getting easier.
The most athletic.
It is Richard. Richard, it is you. And Art said, don't stop there. So
How many of us are wearing pants?
It is me. I grew up in England, so for the first 10 years I was fanatical footballer, soccer player to most of you. And when I came to Australia, amazingly, although it's not a popular sport here, I went to a primary school and then a high school where they only played soccer, mainly because we had a lot of Greek and Italian kids in the school. And I was fanatical about that. And then I was fanatical about tennis. I played tennis 6 days a week and had major aspirations. And then I found photography and everything else got dropped.
wow. How come you didn't play cricket if you were from England and you're in Australia? Or did you give up on India? I mean, India is definitely better than you guys in cricket. Definitely.
You know that's debatable.
That's not the fact. Bandeep, what do you think? I got 2 Indians here on my side.
And you've got some Australians as well.
Oh, that's true. There's too many of you. Yes.
Depending where it is, where the match is being played.
Yeah.
And Virat's gone home, so that's a big problem for you. Or he will be going home after the first test.
So what's the deal with Negronis? What's a Negroni? Tell everyone, Richard. How come you? I mean, what's that about?
I put on the list that Negronis are my hobby. I am amazed that some of you said, what is a Negroni? But I'm only amazed. I'm pleased to be amazed because I didn't know what they were until I turned 50. A Negroni is the world's most popular aperitif, pre-dinner drink. Equal parts gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari.
Ah.
But I didn't discover this drink till I was after 50, which is probably good because you know it's pretty potent. And I only drink them as doubles. But yeah, I love them, and I go around the world making Negronis behind other people's bars because a lot of the places I go to, they also don't know what they are. So I'm gaining a reputation for making Negronis behind strange bars for my photography groups.
Oh, so what I got out of it is on my date night I'm going to have a Negroni. That's what I got out of it.
Parimal, if you have a date night, so far.
I know. I'm stuck with you guys.
Parimal was supposed to have a date last night and he ended up chatting that entire time with me.
Yes.
So
that is true.
Yeah.
situation.
I didn't
That is
get
true.
anything out of that.
Yeah. When I yeah. When I shared that with Bandeep, he got a little worried afterwards.
He
Okay.
was supposed to have a date night last night. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, guys, Jasmine has a younger sister, and I'm dating. Unfortunately, she's hooked up, but the day she becomes single, I'm gonna do the whale heat run. Okay. Okay, this person, let's keep moving along. Can sleep just about anywhere. Like, who can sleep anywhere? Like, looking at these places, who can you predict? Like, who can sleep anywhere?
Darren.
Wow.
With someone or without someone?
Wow, that was so easy. Wow.
Yeah. How come that was so easy? Because I'm the only person left? Or?
No.
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. It just comes from, you guys will all know, just traveling with your cameras everywhere, and camera bags and bunks on boats are always like really tiny. And so you end up sleeping with your camera bags and using one as a pillow and all of that. And on the deck, if it's too hot down below, you end up sleeping on metal or wooden decks. And so, yeah, it's just no problem. Whatever I'm given, I'm happy to be asleep on it. Yeah. Haven't tried a bed of nails yet.
Try going to Kumbh Mela, and then there are people who sleep on these bed of nails. That could be the ultimate test for you, Darren.
Yeah. Okay.
Darren,
Let's
might
try.
surprise all of us.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Moving along. Speaks Japanese. And in addition, one wise person said that he is almost as good as Bruce Lee in nunchucks.
Mark.
Has to be Mark.
You're wearing the outfit.
You gave it away.
I gave it away with this outfit, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm sure.
So, by the way, I got to say, guys, see Mark's martial arts and nunchucks. It is amazing. He has an Instagram or somewhere I've seen a video that he's doing.
On Instagram story, I was teaching with Sandra Miller in Shanghai, and his kid, we had a very rich student who walks in with a red camera and shoots me doing. I dressed up in an outfit, and I did the nunchucks, and I was doing it around his camera. So I'm doing the nunchucks as he's moving in with the red camera, and I managed to not hit it. Ooh. So that was yeah. So you guys can see that on Instagram if you want to see it. And the person who said that I might be better than Bruce Lee with the nunchucks is actually me. Nobody else has said that. Yeah, so I'm the only one. I'm the critic of my own video. So.
I like that confidence. I call it confidence. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very impressive, Bruce.
Yeah.
Got to go first, Michelle's son.
Okay. This person has a fear of big waves. And in addition, so fear of big waves. And when you find out who that is, you're going to be shocked, actually.
And well, you gave it away just now. So obviously, going to be shocked means it's somebody that goes in the water all the time. So you gave it away before you even finished this thing. Okay.
Well, yeah, you should talk after saying you speak Japanese.
Sumimasen, Art-san. I have to now commit seppuku, which I will do in front of all of you. May I ask one of you to be my second?
I will be second.
Thank you for volunteering. Okay, come on over, and there we go. Art's ready already.
Art's ready.
Art's
and
ready.
if not a photographer, would like to be a dog. If not a photographer, would like to be a dog as an alternate person.
Very good.
Robert.
Why? Not Ted.
Why do you think Robert wants to be a dog?
Robert, because he's a psychiatrist. Or
Well, I gotta say, Parimal, you're the one who wanted to sniff Shivang's underwear, so maybe it's you. It is you.
So I gave a hint, is that, fear of waves. So I think, Ted, that's you.
It is.
Ted is a big wave, surf adventure photographer. And I was shocked to hear that you actually are afraid of big waves, knowing what you do.
Yeah, more of a healthy respect, I should say, for big waves. But it's always that stepping outside your boundary that's, I think, with all of us in our photography, that gets pretty exciting when you sort of go somewhere where you feel a little uncomfortable. I'm sure every one of us experienced that when we get our best images.
Yeah.
And as far as a dog, I just thought, particularly in Australia, dogs have such a good gig. They just chase sticks, get patted, get fed. Not all around the world. I know the dogs don't get treated that well in all places. But in Australia, it's probably a premier job, really.
Okay.
Being a dog's not
Not in New Mexico. No, bad.
No, New Mexico may be
idea.
different. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, just a couple more to go. Last three, actually. Got married underwater.
Whoa.
Oh, well, that's a good one.
Jasmine, are you married?
Amy. Nope.
Oh, okay. So
Robert's married. Robert, were you married underwater? Okay.
It's a good
gotta be
idea.
a water shooter.
I don't know.
Amy.
Could be Amy. Yeah.
Amy.
She's quiet.
Yeah.
It's Amy.
Robert is psychoanalyzing everyone's faces, I think. And it is Amy. That is right. Amy, what's the story? Tell us the story.
Oh.
Wow.
We just decided, family and friends kind of scattered throughout the country, and we knew if we got married and invited everybody, it'd be hard for everybody to attend. So we decided, let's just elope and let's go do what we want to do. And that was getting married underwater. So we found a man who could legally marry us, who was a scuba diver. He turned out to be just, we didn't know him, so here's kind of this stranger marrying us. He was great. He's become a lifelong friend. We had a photographer and his wife, and the wife, we knew this was the wedding party. That was it, because we needed 2 witnesses. And we knew that it was going to be a great wedding when she said, "Would you like me to wear my mermaid outfit?" Yeah, so it was great. So we technically didn't say "I do," but we did. Right? We did check a little box on a slate that we held up to each other. So
that's cool.
That's good.
Was it themed after salmons?
Sorry?
Was it themed after salmons?
Oh, no, we were in the tropics, actually. We were in the Bahamas.
Okay.
So we did so there weren't a lot of fish around. And so the photographer's wife had a can of dog food and that she brought down and dumped out in the water. And suddenly just swarmed with tropical fish called Sergeant Majors. So we claimed that we had a military wedding.
It's actually a good way. Indian weddings, a lot of people come and it can be expensive. So when I get married, I'm going to say underwater, and you have to be underwater. Otherwise, you're not invited. So I can save some money. That's my idea. That's
Parimal, you are definitely getting ahead of yourself again. You got that date first.
Yeah.
Hey, put your plan ahead.
Don't be talking about these wedding plans on your date either, on your first date.
That's a good idea.
Or on your profile. Not on your profile.
Yeah. Now I know why nothing's working out, because I'm getting too ahead of myself here. Okay. As a weekend hippie, this person studied herbal medicine as a weekend hippie.
That's Robert.
Yeah, that's Robert over there in my screen.
I had hair then,
Over there.
Over there.
Well, it depends on where you are, but Robert, definitely. Well, we're running out of people, so yeah, Robert, absolutely.
Okay, that's it. Okay, I thought it wasn't that.
Elimination.
You have a reputation, Robert. You have a reputation, clearly.
He's a No, he's,
Okay.
he's a brainiac.
Robert, anything interesting? Any interesting story about that?
Well, I studied it in Sydney, and then I met my wife, Libby, and I ended up traveling. I drove across the Nullarbor in my little clapped out Volkswagen, all ready to be a herbal medicine practitioner, part-time at least. And then I got a job in a hospital and realized that doctors know a hell of a lot more than I did. So that changed my direction, really. That very impressive to see how clever they were,
Cool. Well, I know as we go along, it's easier to guess because, of people left.
Keeping track, yeah.
Keeping track. So for a second, don't keep track of who's gone, just for a second. But this one is really interesting. And I kept that for a reason as the last one, because I felt it was really interesting. Biggest secret thrill for this person is using a photo shoot as an excuse to not exercise. And also, not exercise. And also, this is really interesting. I'm learning a lot about this person. It's scary, actually. Is an aspiring food taster for an insecure dictator.
Bandeep?
Yeah, gotta be Bandeep.
Well, we know, but wow.
Yeah. There's only one left, so it is Bandeep. So I will not belabor the point. But Bandeep, tell us about, I'm intrigued by the whole aspiring food taster for an insecure dictator. Tell us what that means.
I mean, it's very simple. I have this huge passion for food. And, Parimal, I seriously believe that given availability a constant, food is infinitely more complex and more rewarding than sex.
Wow, okay.
And
let's just pause there for a second. Say that again.
I might be with you. I might be with you on that. Okay.
Say that again. Say that again, Bandeep. Say that again.
Parimal needs some reinforcement here.
Say that again.
I said that given availability a constant, I think food is infinitely more complex and rewarding than sex. So
we'll call it even, right?
So look at the combination here. An insecure dictator would want because he's a dictator, he would obviously get the best of the food, right? And because he would want everything tasted before. So that's a no-go. But then there's once everybody knows that the food is going through a taster, there's no chance of being poisoned. So, it was
smart. Very smart.
I've heard of insecure dictators eating cheeseburgers in their bed.
That's true. That's true. Very insecure.
But Art, that particular dictator probably isn't getting any sex either.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Amy, I'm not a dictator. Trust me, I'm not.
And you're not insecure. We know this.
And I'm not insecure either. Exactly. Okay. That was fun. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So let's switch gears into, you guys want to see some images?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yes? Okay. One image each. Let me share the screen. Tell me if you can see it. Do you guys see it?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get started. So again, in not any particular order, except I'm forwarding. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Okay, the first one is from Bandeep. A beautiful image. And I started with this one because it's so different. And also Bandeep was last in the trivia. Makes sense for him to go first. Bandeep, beautiful image. Tell us about it. We'd love to know.
This is a portrait of Irfan Khan. I photographed him in 2016. This was done specially after, in 2016, there was a lot of, India was seeing a lot of intolerance, and the ruling BJP government was suspected of fostering a lot of intolerance between different groups. And, Irfan came up with this statement, talking about, how the whole idea of animal sacrifice in Islam needs to be, relooked at, and, re-examined. And for that, he was hugely criticized. And this was the mood. And I was shooting people for the Independence Special Issue of India. And I wanted an image where, you kind of encapsulated the mood. And Irfan has very, very beautiful, big, expressive eyes. And what happened every time you photographed Irfan was that his eyes dominated the photograph. And I wanted the eyes to be dominating, but in a very different way. So I suggested to him the idea of, crying in front of the camera. And he was very reluctant to do this image initially. And I persisted. I followed him all the way to Bombay from Delhi on an assignment. And, this image, he was, he had smoked up by that time, and this was late night, and, he was, also drunk and completely wasted, and did not want to do this image. And as he was walking away and he was wanted to say that, I'm in a bad shape, can't do this image, I actually used a quote from his, which was, he had just spoken in a meeting, in a TV presentation, that the job of an artist is to always challenge the status quo. And I said that here you were speaking at the TV show that it's the job of an artist to challenge status quo, and here I'm exactly trying to do that, and you're walking away from me. And I actually said it with a lot of disgust, and he actually stopped and put some glycerin in his eyes and gave me this expression. And this image got published only after Irfan's passing away, and it in a way became it kind of became emblematic of the sorrow that everybody felt at Irfan's going away at that time. It was a huge outcry, and it was a huge sentiment in the country when Irfan passed away. And this image kind of encapsulated that, and became almost viral because of that.
Can I just add, Bandeep, thank you. Irfan, for those of you who don't know, Irfan is one of the finest actors in the world. Definitely one of the finest actors in Bollywood too. Some of you might know him from Slumdog Millionaire.
Even Life of Pi.
Life of Pi, if you remember Life of Pi, Slumdog Millionaire. A movie on Netflix, I believe, is called Lunchbox. It's a beautiful film. And he was known for his amazing expressions and acting, and a character actor, a true actor's actor. And he recently passed away prematurely, at a much younger age than one would expect. And the reason we picked this image, and thanks Bandeep for sharing, is because India, loves its films and Bollywood and its actors. This particular image went absolutely viral because it in some ways represented the sort of 1 billion Indians. They love Irfan. He's a great gentleman, a family guy, with 2 kids, and wife and 2 kids. And this image, I think, represented in some ways what we all Indians felt. So this is a powerful image. So thank you, Bandeep.
Wow.
I agree. I love his movies, and this is a phenomenal image. Absolutely phenomenal.
Really spectacular.
There is another image that Bandeep has done with Irfan, which I will share later with all of you, in which he has his hands over his eyes. That's also beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I know Bandeep is, as all of you, is extremely humble, doesn't talk about what he actually does, and but he shoots prime ministers, presidents, Bollywood top actors, as part of his job. And it's just a delight that Bandeep picked this image. It's a beautiful image. Bandeep, I have one question for you. What is your biggest learning in this year? Personal learning, or what is it that you feel it's something that we should all learn?
Learning is, when you phrase it like that, learning becomes, it's a constant thing. It's not that you pick up one big thing. Sometimes you learn a very, very small thing and that becomes, something very, very big. And you do it almost as you're breathing. It's a part of your everyday activity. It's no great revelation moment that happens. It's probably, these days, it's because of Corona, we are all in the house and we are doing all the household work ourselves. And sometimes you're doing the dishes, and just the way you can do dishes differently, is a big learning. Some little thing. So I can't isolate and think that this was the big learning in this year or something like that. But one thing I would say that there is. It is very important to exercise caution, because of the pandemic. We have been all living a cautionary life. But it is very important to step out and reclaim life, and for me, that was a learning this year, that it is important, no matter what situation you are in. It is important to, after a while, put that aside and actually reclaim life, because life triumphs over everything else, and that was my big learning, because I actually did that, took a great risk and traveled to Ladakh twice to, do something that I've always wanted to do. And that was my big learning, if you ask.
Thank you, Bandeep.
Great.
Okay, let's go next image. That is our pro soccer wannabe tennis player and Negroni champion, Richard Branson.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes, well, this is the opposite to Bandeep's story. I couldn't choose a picture for this, so I chose an image that's got 25,000 of my rejects in it.
That's amazing.
Beautiful.
I took this 3 years ago when I made a big effort to try and go through the slides and make space, get rid of them. And as they were building up, I just wanted to do this shot. I had the idea fairly early, and it was fantastic. I posted it on Facebook, and I got most photographers they got it and they thought it was funny and they could certainly understand. But I got lots of personal messages saying, please don't throw them away, and can I have them? And I just had to assure people they were not my best pictures, that they were in fact the rejects. But I think it's, there's about 25,000 slides there on the table and on the floor.
Wow.
And I kind of like the idea that, this is what we dealt with. We dealt with the physical in the past, and now, of course, that many images can be on a thumb drive or something. So I kind of like that. But the worst thing was it took me 10 minutes to set that shot up and 3 hours to pack up afterwards.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm still going. I haven't finished yet, and I haven't thrown any of the rejects out.
That's good. That's good.
They're in bags and boxes because I have an idea. I have an idea how I might be able to use them in the future. But yes, even though I'm ruthless enough to take them out of the plastic things and put them in boxes, I still can't bring myself to actually get rid of them.
But how did you make this image? How did you get so high up? What was that?
No, It's just a tall tripod. That's all.
Really? Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Really tall.
Yeah, I've
Richard,
got 4 meter ceilings in here, I guess, so I was able to get up reasonably high.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many filing cabinets is 25,000 slides?
I used to know the answer to that. I don't know. I'll do some sums when I'm not speaking.
Yeah.
It's probably not that many. It's not that you can get a lot of slides into a cabinet.
Do you still shoot film?
No. The day 2008, when the Canon 5D Mark II came out, I went in, I picked up the Mark IIs and I traded in all the film gear, except for my very, very first SLR, which I have as a museum piece.
Richard, what's your aspiration for all of us next year? What do you hope for?
My aspiration is that everybody treats everybody like they'd like to be treated themselves. I think we could use a lot more humanity and dignity. That's all.
You know, that's what I say. That's what I say on my dates is that I love you. Like, you know, just treat each other the same. It doesn't work.
I'm glad I could help, Parimal.
You're not going on any dates, Parimal. Come on.
Yeah.
That is true. Hey, by the way, I want to introduce briefly Bruce Omori. Bruce, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Come in. Hey, Bruce. Bruce, I know wasn't able to make the whole thing because he's at his gallery in the Big Island of Hawaii. So, Bruce, I thought we just drop in, say hi to everyone. Yeah. Just sharing images.
Hello, hi, everyone.
Hey, Bruce.
Hi, Art. Sorry,
Bruce.
Sorry, I couldn't be here from the beginning. Yeah, Mele Kalikimaka.
Bruce, what's your fun fact? Real quick, what's your fun fact?
Fun fact. Shucks. I don't know. I'm a boring guy.
That counts as a fun fact.
I'm addicted to 2 things: lava and coffee. So I can't live without either.
That's a good combo.
That's a good combo.
Yeah, and I like both hot.
Thank you, Bruce, for joining. I know you probably have to run, so feel free to run, stay as long as you want. You know, we're going to show some images, but thanks for joining. It means a lot to us.
Bruce, one quick question. When you get angry, do you erupt or do you simmer?
Brew. Brew. He just brews.
Oh, funny. I fume. Yeah. Yeah.
He steams.
You know,
It steams.
Right now my gallery is empty, so I'm able to stay until somebody comes in. But you know, in case I got to run, I just want to say that I'm really appreciative of you, Parimal, and Art for what you guys do. And Art, especially you know, how you've been an inspiration to so many photographers across the globe, you know, including myself. Art, you are the primary reason I shoot today. And it's through your, yes. I want to say that when I was a kid, I admired you, but I'm not that much younger than you are. So, but really, Art, your eye, your inspiration, you know, the example that you lead is of such importance to photography as a whole, and to each and every one of you all out there. You guys too, your work is inspirational, and thank you for doing what you guys do, because I think we all see the world or this planet through each each other's lenses, you know, and I think we all bring a different perspective to our audience, and it's important to aspiring photographers across the globe that we share, you know, our love for what we do, the environment that we live in, and yeah, just, you know, bringing that message to the forefront. I mean, we really need to take care of this planet that we live on, and I think you guys all do such an amazing job. So thank you, and I wish you guys the best.
We are so happy that you joined us. Thank you,
Yeah,
Bruce.
thanks, Art.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's
And
go
I'll
back.
stick I'll stick around as long as I can.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
continue on with what you guys are doing. I'm enjoying seeing you guys.
All right. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, let's go to the next image. Is Phil Borges. It's a beautiful image. Phil.
Oh, okay, this is an Angkor Wat, and it's the Temple, which once housed 12,000 monks. And I got there early in the morning before the tourists, all the hordes of tourists that come. And these three monks were there, and they are part of a small monastery that's close to this temple. And and one of their big meditations is impermanence. And I really loved the way these fig trees are taking back our, in a way I thought of it as taking, you know, nature is coming back and taking back, but in another way, I saw it as nature's kind of embracing our human art forms. The way these roots are just hugging this temple. Most of the temples there, they were cutting down the fig trees so they wouldn't grow over like this. But I really loved this one. And it was also, I did this a long time ago, and I was shooting mostly film, and somebody had given me a back for my Hasselblad. And I think it was only 16 megapixels or something like that. It wasn't that advanced, but this was one of my first digital shots.
It's an amazing image. It's beautiful.
Beautiful image.
Phil, when was this taken? What year was this?
Let's see. I think it was 2004 or 5. I know this temple, they told me before, a year or so before I shot this, Angelina Jolie starred in a film called Tomb Raider, and this is where they shot it. So whenever she made that film, this is about 2 years later. So this is their early.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Well, you know, I think this is really an important, iconic image because I've been going there almost every year, and now many of these places are turned into selfie platforms. So it's a very different experience now. It's still fabulous. It's still Angkor. There's still the feeling, but these type of images don't exist anymore.
Did they cut the tree on Top Ram? I hope they didn't.
No, they haven't.
No, but they built platforms so people can stand and you have to wait in line, and it's a very different experience. But that's why this image is so beautiful and so iconic.
So there's platforms where out in the middle here, where like wooden platforms are built all over the place.
Yes.
Oh,
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 sorry to hear that.
Sorry. but
That's
but
okay.
but it makes your image so special, because so many of our images, because many of us have been photographing for so many years, and we have the luxury and the time and the age of going back and back. And this is really an amazing image. It's really quite astounding. So I love it.
How many years would it take for the trees to grow over like that?
Well, this temple was built in 1200s. And so who knows when it started growing, but it's got to be, I would imagine this tree's got to be 300-400 years old.
Amazing.
I have no idea how fast they grow.
Amazing. Thank you, Phil. Thank you. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Nevada, it's interesting, your perspective on this. I just want to say, it seems like the world, we seem to be sacrificing the sacred for the self. And that's sad.
It's we're all part of it. We're all travelers. We're all part of it. We do our best, and sometimes they don't happen in the way we want. But yeah, this particular Tapram has had, it's a little sad. For me, it's a little sad. And Phil, I don't go back right now.
All right. Okay. Next one is from Jasmine. Damsel, where are you?
Me.
Tell us about this image.
This is, it meant I guess this is an image that means something to me, well, a lot to me, because I missed out on taking any shots in my first heat run that I had because the battery went flat of my compact. And so this was the following year. And I was excited to get a heat run, and this was my image from that heat run. So it's my first image of a heat run, but with my second one. And from then on, I really thought this really confirms to me that anything is possible, and things do happen. So yeah, that's what this means to me for this one. And I haven't been able to get an image that's quite like this with the rays and the heat run yet, and I haven't seen one like this, but I guess that's in my Rolodex of images. And yeah.
Jasmine, what is a heat run?
A heat run is where they a whole bunch of whales get together, male whales, and they start they follow a female. She's in charge of the heat run, it's called, and the males fight for her attention and for her love.
Well, can Parimal get in on that?
That'll let it out. Yeah.
We knew that was coming.
Yeah. Well,
the whales would like that.
He needs to take some notes. He should come along, and he can, take some notes while he's swimming along.
That's a good idea.
What they do. He'll need a wingman for sure, because there's generally two at the front. But yes.
Yeah, he'd be the sperm whale.
From them.
I did not ask Mark to ask that question. Trust me. I was prepared.
Right.
Okay.
Beautiful
Thank
photo.
you.
Lovely.
They're amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Beautiful image. Nevada.
Wow. Beautiful.
Wow.
Well, I'm self-taught, which means the teacher doesn't know anything. So it took me a really long time, and I spent from 79 till into the 90s, half of the year in Nepal. I was a trekking guide. And this is the first image I ever liked. this was the first image where I went, oh, I get it. It's about feeling. It's about atmosphere. It's about putting the things you want in the right place. And it's the first one that made me realize that I could understand what it meant to photograph, because I didn't have many mentors beyond books and exhibits, which were big things. But when you feel your own image, I think it's really important. So this image will always be an icon for me.
So beautiful.
I think it's the first one I ever saw of yours as well.
Yeah, that's because the first one that was any good, Art.
I love
yeah.
I love the way his ankles are coming together. It's so perfect. I mean, all the ones that I have not made statements about have been beautiful, but everybody is chiming in. So I just know I love every one we've seen. But in this one, the way the legs are coming together, it's like he is so symmetrical and beautiful.
Well, it's also coming together with the tree trunk sort of extended, so framed perfectly. I mean, it's amazing. Everything comes together in a shot. Usually, you can almost always find something that's like, oh, the tree's coming out of the head or this or that, but everything works here. It really is amazing. Yeah.
But it was the first one, you know, for those of you who are listening as photographers who are just starting out, it was the first one where I went, oh, I see something I like. Then I had to run back up the hill. And then I had to think and pause and go, how does it all work together? And that's when I understood that there's things you see, and then there's ways of interpreting it. And it's the first one where it ever came together for me. So that's why it's very special for me.
It's amazing.
I remember when that you just described that really really well for me, because I remember when that penny finally dropped for me, when I looked at my own images and went, oh, you know, it either moved me or I thought there was something in it. And it's like, that's what's been missing in my images. And then well, for me, then I started taking those types of pictures that meant something to me. And I totally forgot about what other people thought, or what I thought other people would like. And it's that feeling that I get with my images that go, okay, I like this one. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I understand. And, you know, like you, Richard, I spent a lot of time in Nepal, and, you know, you can see something interesting and click, but when you see something interesting that you can feel and then interpret, that was a really new experience for me. So this image will always be in the primary for me.
Yeah, beautiful.
Nevada, what is the one thing you learned this year?
This year?
Well,
well, enjoy my home. What do you mean this year?
Okay.
I've never been home
No,
this
no
long. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
What I meant is there a big learning, you know, that this year, you know, personal learning for you this year?
Well, I've been based in Santa Fe since 1974, and I've always loved it. But I haven't been anywhere this long since high school. And I'm realizing time is different. Actually, this is a good question. Time is really different when you're at home than when you're traveling. Because when you're traveling, there are moments. They go moment, moment, moment. So a year can happen in 2 weeks. When you're at home, you're doing the dishes, you're taking out the trash. The moments are really far apart. So it's a different time, time compression traveling versus being at home. And they're both valid. They're both beautiful. I'm enjoying this time. I've never had it before.
Thank you.
Same here.
Okay. Robert.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, beautiful.
This is Sunakazu. And I guess this image is here because I really have been pleased to meet her, and she's been generous with me. She's of an unknown age. I always think of her as around my age, and she's been a Gecko and particularly Jakarta for a long time, and she's an exquisite dancer and is kind of the star of the show still in a big production. Although very few people photograph her, they're busy photographing Maiko, who don't have the same grace. And this image is partly here just because she's such a special person, but also that I set up a shoot just for this image. I really wanted one image. So it's about slowing down and taking a lot of time to create the setting to make this image. And Gecko actresses, you know, they dance character roles, and they as a dancer, they know how to show their soul. So I'm directing her, and she's giving me the image I want. And it's just trying to achieve less, trying to take a whole 2 or 3 hour slot just to get one image just right. And it still gives me pleasure to see it.
Thank you, Robert.
The stillness in this image is almost palpable.
Yeah.
You know, it just reaches out from the image and just goes inside you. It's so beautiful.
Thank you, Bandeep. I mean, she has the capacity to convey that that feeling of stillness or longing or grace or opportunities lost. In the dance theater, they have, you know, you're communicating subtle emotions. And so it's a pleasure to realize, well, I can work with these people and they work with me. When I had an exhibition of my work in Kyoto, she came and brought me little treats and cups of tea, you know. It's nice to be befriended in that way.
Yeah.
But you do more than the casual. You have really gotten involved and really paid attention. And that's part of the depth of your work, where you don't just go in and say, I'm here. And many of us, like myself, can parachute in and make an amazing image. But you made such an effort to get involved with this culture. And I really think it is so remarkable in your images, and quite subtle perhaps for other people to understand, but it's a big landmark to your images.
Look, it's a paradox. I don't claim to be right on the inside, but clearly not parachuting in and allowing.
Right.
The opportunities came that, you know, didn't come for 4 years, you know. And yet this way of seeing that comes with time. I can shoot in Ladakh and be in a nomad's tent and make a similar image. And, you know, dinner's coming around the corner. I don't have so much time. I may never meet them again. But so there's a kind of conversation in the two different ways of shooting. But she's a very special person.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. And I love everyone's comments. I got to admit, you know, when we planned this, you know, we didn't know how it's going to go, but I just love each other's commentary, you know, as everyone of you is jumping in and appreciating and sharing what you like about a certain image. That's just beautiful. So thank you for that. Michelle Valberg.
For me, this is definitely a defining moment, defining image that I think that we all search for and wait. I've been a photographer for 30 plus years, and I was working on a book on the Arctic, and I had wanted to photograph walrus. And fortunately for me, one trip canceled and another presented itself. And there were researchers that had told me that there were 10,000 walrus on this island near Hull Beach, Nunavut. And I took an opportunity, I took a chance, and we went to this island, and there were 10,000 walrus blanketed all across this island's beach and swimming in the water, and you could smell them before you could see them. And we landed, and we were actually on the cliff side that you see on the left-hand side above, and looking down, and it was an amazing experience to look down at these amazing creatures and to watch their behavior, and to have that bird's eye kind of view without being too high, and to watch the behavior and to create. And is somewhat overwhelming to see so many animals, right? And it kind of reminded me of Antarctica or South Georgia, when you see so many animals in one place. Like, how do you pick, and how do you hone in on what it is that it's so overwhelming. You have to take it all in almost before you start to really create and define the images that you want to take. And after a couple of days of being in this vantage point, I asked our guide if we could walk down so I could see, what it was like from the vantage point of the walrus on the island. And, it was one of those things that it was just the light was flat, and the light wasn't really great. It was a blanket. And every so often the walrus would come up and tusk each other. And, but nothing was really happening. So I stood, very close to the herd edge and had a conversation with the edge guy. And, it was complete understanding that, I wasn't there to harm, he wasn't going to harm me. And then I just said to the guide, okay, there's time, right, that we spend with animals and in the wild, and it's being respectful to them. And I said, okay, this is great. It wasn't what I expected. Let's leave. And we started to walk away, and it was one of those reactionary moments that I heard this thunderous sound, and I turned around and I just started shooting. And you just oftentimes we think before we react, maybe. And this is when I reacted before I really understood what was happening. And they were spooked by something. We don't necessarily know. Maybe it was a polar bear. We don't know what it was. It wasn't certainly us. And this herd were on this like haul to the water. And what had happened was this like confluence of perfectness. The light kind of peeked through the clouds a little bit. I created this motion with the herd going. The sand dust actually from the rocks underneath them created this mystical kind of flavor to the image. And before I knew it, it was over. Like, I was hand holding a 200 to 400. I just started shooting. I didn't even know really what was happening. I didn't even kind of comprehend until I looked at the back of my camera and I saw the image, and I went, okay, that is an image that no one else in the world will ever have. And I think, ultimately that's what we're talking about here. And we're showcasing the world in a way that is our own unique vision, but also, stands its time and is reflective of who we are as photographers. And this, for me, it really was that moment that I looked at the back of the camera and I went, okay, now this is an image. Like, this is something that I far exceeded anything I ever imagined for a herd of walrus that I had spent days with, that, was a completely different scenario. So, reaction, taking the chances, and really searching out those images and creating those images that you haven't been seen before, because we are inundated so much with imagery from everyone, from everywhere, from everything. So, that ultimately, I think as photographers, that's what we're all striving for, right? So that's why I chose this image, because it was just that ultimate defining moment and image for me in my bank.
And our first images that mean so much to us are so important. And I think they're important to emerging photographers also, because it's not about the processing, it's about the moment and what you see and how you render it.
Right. And
what's amazing to me about this image, it's almost like it's like a diorama. I mean, that walrus in the background, I mean, it's just amazing that this is a photograph. I mean, if you look at it, it looks like it was a Japanese photographer that photographed installations. I think it was at in a museum, I think actually in LA, Todd's Hito maybe, but it was with the backgrounds. But this is real, but it looks like a matte painting background. I mean, it really is just, did you know you had an amazing, you said you knew you had an amazing shot the instant you shot it?
No, when it happened, it was too fast, and I saw the dust. I mean, I saw what was happening, but it wasn't until I saw the back of the camera that I really understood what it was that I had, and I knew it was different, and I knew that it was defining, and there was no one else with me to capture or see this. So it wasn't until I looked at the back of the camera that I knew what it was that I had for sure.
I think the most important thing in this image which I see is that my eye is constantly moving from one corner of the frame to the other because there are so many elements in this particular image. So it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that unfortunately our heads are covering up the animal on the right, our right. And so it is a beautiful image, and the layering, and I think everybody has said it succinctly, it's a very powerful, but it also implies a more prehistoric time. There's a level of age to this image brought to you by that layering of dust and mist, and their actual forms and shapes are so primordial or prime, they're like an ancient animal. And yeah, just lovely.
That's so well said, Art. That's exactly it. It looks primordial. It looks like there's mammoths somewhere around the corner.
Yeah.
It is amazing to capture.
And that looks complemented by the lighting, actually.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
and it was so flat. I mean, when you're looking at a blanket of all these animals, it was just, there was nothing going on. It was magnificent to see from a higher vantage point. To go lower, thinking as a wildlife photographer, you want to be low. There was nothing there, because there, every so often a couple would come up and tusk, but it wasn't until, I was just aching for movement, and I was aching for light as well, which I wasn't achieving. I mean, it was the time, it was the moment. I mean, you can't direct the light to do what you want it to do. And it was just that it all just magically happened at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Shivang, you there, brother? We don't see you on video though.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm in the middle of a forest, so the connectivity is a bit weak, but I can see all of you.
No worries. You still look very handsome, so no worries. So we are showing your image, Shivang.
Yeah, so this is a snow leopard, and this image was this year only, along with a very good friend, Piper. So we both were there in the Spiti Valley in India, and searching for snow leopards. And I've been photographing snow leopards for the past few years, but this particular moment was quite special because a lot of people ask me whether I've used a drone for taking this image, but it's actually shot with a long lens. And you just see the entire scale of the Himalayas out there, and the snow leopards just started walking straight down this valley, just leaving behind a trail of its own pug marks. The light was, it was taken in harsh light somewhere around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But despite of that, you have this shadow out there, the gray ghost of the Himalayas. So, after photographing so many snow leopards, for me, this particular image, it just defines the entire mysticism around this species. So I just thought of sharing this with all of you.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's unusual like this.
Yeah, the shadow of the cat is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And we all know this is a hard image to make, so it's really extraordinary.
Yeah, normally these cats are, they're very busy. They don't go on much, especially during the daytime. But in this case, Piper and I, we were waiting for this snow leopard to move since morning. And I just went to some other location to check if we can get a better angle. And I just sent a radio message to Piper to come to that particular location. And immediately when she came, this guy just started walking on the snow. So yeah, it was kind of a nice moment.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Shiva. And thanks for joining from the forest. I know it's tough, and you said you had to get up very early in the morning, come to a place where you have somewhat decent internet.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I'm actually using my mobile to do this, to see this, and it has been a 45 minutes hike to a point from where I can get some connectivity to see all
Wow.
of you.
Wow.
Love your dedication, and thank you so much, Shivang.
Thanks a ton, Parimal.
Okay. Our friend Darren Jew, who can sleep anywhere.
Even underwater. Yeah. So this is in Papua New Guinea, at a place called Bagabag Island. I was just snorkeling around one of my very first trips with a digital camera under the water. So I was reveling in photographing an anemone fish and thinking I could take more than 36 pictures before I had to get out of the water and change film. And I was having a great time, kind of oblivious to everything else. And I remember it was snorkeling, so I was kind of popping up and down. And then I popped up and saw these guys passing by with their canoe, or their dugout canoe. And I don't know, it's just, for me, this is the kind of picture that I'd always seen in National Geographic and stuff like that, and thought it'd be really nice to take a picture like that one day. And the thing for me personally, not only the circumstances of having kind of all this brand new technology in my hand, taking my attention when all this real kind of primitive world was kind of still going on around me, was a significant moment. And then photographically, just the curve of the meniscus on the surface of the water, how on the right it comes above the horizon, and then on the left below, it's sort of the perfect arc through there. And also the three heads on the canoe with the kind of peaks in the cloud, they all kind of mirror each other. So visually it's sort of working for me. And yeah, it's just one of those pictures, as Parimal said, just, find something that means a lot to you. And so this is one of those.
Spectacular.
Got a lovely sense of journeying in a very deep and wide ocean. You really feel just how small they are in a big environment. It's powerful.
Oh.
It reminds me of the old steam engines, that are coming across. And it's like, I keep looking at those clouds like they're coming out of the people. And so there's a lot of motion there, but it does remind me of those old steam engines, just with the way those clouds are moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love that you chose black and white for this too, because so often ocean shots, we're kind of almost overwhelmed by the blue of the water and the light, and this just, to me, the black and white really makes this, just because you really see form more than color. It's
for sure. The contrast elements of the clouds and the figures were the thing that really sort of did that for me. Yeah.
I think the split level water really makes it special too, Darren, because it's almost like you're the fly on the wall. You're submerged, but just peeking above the horizon into a primitive world. It's pretty special. Whereas if it was shot just directly above water, it would have a whole different feel to it.
For sure. And, I guess I just come back and recall the fact that, there was, it wasn't the picture I got in the water to shoot. I was shooting fish and coral and stuff. And you know, that moment happened and then it was gone. And it's another one of like a lot of my favorite photos, as for all of you guys too, are those ones that, you know, you're not going to get that moment back again. Like I'm never going to be back in that bay for the first time with my first digital camera, being all very excited about that. So, you know, that's where these things are so strong for us as we continue through our careers. They kind of give us those little signposts along the way.
Thank you, Darren. Beautiful. I love the clouds too. They almost look like people.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mark Edward Harris.
Oh, iconic.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Thank you so much. This was in Pyongyang during when the New York Philharmonic in 2008 had their historic concert there. And so we were being shuttled. So I've been to North Korea 10 times and I've done 2 books in North Korea. But I was always begging for the people taking us back and forth to the concert hall, could we please stop for a moment so I could take a picture of the traffic officers, and they would look at their watch and say, "Oh, sorry, we gotta get to the concert hall." Couldn't do it, and so I was at the concert hall, and I knew that Rhapsody in Blue, which the New York Philharmonic was playing, was about 17 minutes long, and I thought if I could get out the back exit and then hike about half a mile down by myself and keep the camera under my overcoat, because this was January. And so a good excuse to hide it. If I could make it there and then shoot the photo and get back, then I wouldn't get in trouble, because you're always supposed to be with, you know, they hate the word, but minders, right? So, and the people there are great. I've had really almost nothing but good experiences there. And so I actually had in my mind Rhapsody in Blue playing so I could time it. So I got out the back exit, went down about half a mile past the Golden Lane bowling alley, and I took a photo, and I held a Nikon flash off to my left just to fill in some harsh shadow, took the picture. I don't think she was particularly thrilled about me being there, but I took a few frames, put the camera back, went back there, and I got there about, probably it took 16 minutes altogether. And so it was just wrapping up with Rhapsody in Blue. I thought, oh, I made it. When I heard the last, 8 bars of Rhapsody in Blue, and then one of the minders there, or one of the people there, said to me, "Did you have a nice walk?" Maybe I wasn't as stealth as I could be, but they let me slide on this, and this was really, I mean, obviously it's very fortuitous that the blue bus came through, on the right side. I was conscious always when I shoot, environmental portraits like this, I'm always conscious about, cropping points. And so it's like, okay, let's get the legs in, if that's where I want to crop it, or I would do a 3/4, but this felt like a full frame. But also the fact that, I could let the image sort of resolve itself and have some snow at the bottom as well. And so this was all happening, so fast, really, with the song in my head, the whole time, because there can be consequences for going off on your own there. But yeah, every once in a while, you're sort of conscious of actually getting a shot at the time. Often it's, you look at images later in the old days on a contact sheet, or, now with digital, we might look at it and say, okay, this might work, or you have a feeling about something. But I remember at this time, I felt, well, I might be getting something good. But I don't remember that bus going by at all. That's just sort of an added element that worked. So no, this is a cover of my second book, which won IPA Book of the Year. But it's something that I really went after for a while, as opposed to something that I just came across for a split second. And so there's a bigger backstory to this than probably most of my photos, I would say.
I'd like
so
just to remark, if I could, on the palette, not just the blue bus, that's like perfect, but just the fact that the picture is, to me, looks just blue and the cold tones and the warm tones. You know, there's some gray in there, but even the grays are kind of warm. It just is, you just can't stop looking at it just because of the palette, I think. And even the blue shadow, the blueness of the shadow, the blueness of the sky, the warmth of the road and the skin tone and the fur and the warmth in the gray of the trees. It just is remarkably beautiful to look at, in as well as all of the tension of the composition, the like pretty central composition and the right angles everywhere. It's all, yeah, it's one of those pictures that sort of stays with you for sure.
Darren, I appreciate you saying that. I did use it. I tend to, when I use a off-camera flash, and this was, as I said, just a 9-quarter flash, I tend to put a quarter CTO on a flash, and I don't always use flash fill, but since I didn't really have a choice of time of day, it just happened quickly. But I often find that a bit of warmth on the flash really helps a lot, and so maybe that's what helped, you know, give. And I never even thought about that. I'm always thinking about the blue. It's funny you should say that, because that makes me think now about going the opposite, right? Because you're right, the fur does sort of pop out, and she does have a bit of warmth in her face, and so yeah, that does counterbalance that. So thank you for saying that.
What I was constantly thinking, Mark, is it's actually your Rhapsody in Blue, and you know, it's almost allegorical. You know that this traffic inspector, your subject, almost has a pose of a conductor. You know, it's as if she's conducting and you are the one who's playing the Rhapsody. You know?
Yeah.
It's amazing you should say that. I never even once, and this is now 12 years ago that I shot this, I never even once thought of that. But you're right. She's got a baton and wow. And she's wearing blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. My ex-wife never accused me of thinking too much. So I think you just proved a point, you know, but it's so obvious now that you say it. You're right. 100%. Wow.
So Mark, what do you recall what level of anxiety you had about taking that walk and the possible consequences?
I was very, you know, now we're always talking about mindfulness and all that. I was completely in the moment that whole walk. Every moment of that. And there's a few times in my life, I remember shooting in Iran and being brought in for questioning and stuff on the Iran-Iraq border and stuff. And I was very in the moment. I tend to be out there a lot, but there's some things that sort of ground you. And I do remember those 17 minutes or 16 and a half minutes of, you know, first of all, having the concept of getting out there, and also the concept of getting there and back. You know, it's sort of like, you know, I guess when like fighter pilots, like the Doolittle raid, you know how much fuel you have, you know, you have to get to somewhere on the other side, right? You know, in that case, in a Doolittle raid, they had to land in China. And so here, I was very conscious of time. And really, the actual moments of shooting was very short. It's rare, right? Because normally when we're shooting, we're not that super, well, I don't know. Are we? I don't know. I had a lot of thoughts going on for this, more than normal when I shoot, because I was conscious of a very finite amount of time. Obviously, when you're shooting like that, you know, the leopard shot we saw a minute ago, you know, you've got a few seconds to shoot that. I mean, that leopard's going to walk out of frame and that's the end of that. And, you know, you have to have your exposure right, because you're shooting, you know, you probably have to open up a stop and a half because of the snow, whatever. You know, here I did have that concept that I've got 30 seconds out there, 25 seconds out there. Everything was, slow motion, maybe at the same time, I would say.
But Mark, I like what you were saying, because it's not a travel image. It's deceiving because it looks like a travel image, but it's not. It's more of a political image. It's more of a wildlife image. You're in a very delicate situation that the viewers don't always see.
That's right.
And you managed so much in a very short period of time. And I think a lot of photographers who would understand the historical and the political implications of this would get it. But it's a remarkable image because it's not a travel image that anybody would get because we're not all walking down the streets of North Korea. So it's extraordinary.
Thank you, Nevada. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, every once in a while we get these, right? You know, and then you check the focus, right? It's like, okay, is it sharp, right? That's probably the first thing. It's like,
I heard Michelle was trying to say something to Michelle.
No, everyone.
No, okay.
Me?
I was going to say, I think it's a fine art political image.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
And Parimal, she might be available. I don't know if you're interested in.
I dig her. I like her. I like her.
Oh, she's beautiful. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah.
I really know where that baton would be placed.
And a hat's a bit like arts as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Amy.
Well, long before I knew about the Japanese practice of forest bathing and all the mental and physical benefits bestowed upon those who venture into the forest, I knew that I felt great when I walked into a forest. This is not too far from my home. I think sometimes those of us who travel all over, if we just spend some time in our own home, I think we can make probably some of our best images. I first saw this particular forest and these trees in kind of midday, really harsh light, but I was so taken by the lichen that's on the trunks of these old growth Douglas fir trees. And I knew, it's like, I'll bet, and my very favorite light in the entire world is overcast light. And so I waited a couple months. This was in the summer, and I knew come October, so it's also very rather high elevation too. And so I knew there was kind of a period of time, usually in October, when we start to get heavy layers of fog. And I thought, this is going to be great in fog. And so I was kind of watching the weather, and sure enough, we got a real low cloud covered day and heavy fog. And I raced up this mountain and made this. And this was, I can't quite remember how many years ago, but this was film. So it was quite a while ago. And it's still to this day one of my very favorite images made very close to my home.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
It's very zen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, you called it.
Go ahead, Art.
I was just going to point out the way the, I don't think it's lichen. I think it's a moss or an old man's beard. There's names for all this, but the way they're kind of shaped on that leading tree on the right, you have the same branches picking up that curvature, which I think also unifies the image. It's a very simple image, but a very elegantly cohesive. And I don't think they're Douglas fir either. I don't want to correct you, but they are, I think.
They could be hemlock. That they could be hemlock.
Yeah, they look like hemlock to me. Anyway, they're beautiful, whatever they are.
I almost for a moment thought that it's a reflection in the water, and actually the moss actually looks like brushstrokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is interesting you say that too, Bandeep, because I think a lot of the images of mine that I love the most look most like paintings. And they were either taken in, light conditions like this, like fog that gives it that very soft painterly feel, or I've used a slow shutter speed to blur some kind of motion. And sometimes I think, well, why don't I just be a painter? And it's like, because I don't paint, I photograph.
Well, for those of you guys who have not seen Art's painting and artwork, Art is an amazing artist. Art, what's the name of that book that you did when you combined both your passions?
Human Canvas.
Yeah, what an amazing book. I mean, just incredible. But so, Amy, where did you shoot this? You said near your home, but where's your home?
Mount Rainier.
This is in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. A hike called, where was it? I was on my way to a place called Pratt Lake.
Nice.
Wow, beautiful.
In the
and in that entire hike, it's just this kind of very small grove of trees that have this incredible lichen just draped all over the bark.
Thank you, Amy.
And it's, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
It's a beautiful example of harmonious colors where the blues and the greens kind of, because there's no definitive line within our eyesight, they blend into each other so lovely.
Yeah. So beautiful. Okay. Ted Grambeau.
Yeah, this was, I think a lot of images we take represent the experience we had when we were taking them. And this was, the experience was stepping outside my comfort zone, going on a motorcycle journey from LA to the bottom of Patagonia.
Wow.
This particular image was shot, was like it wasn't Carnival, but it was a show about Carnival, just the time of the year I was passing through Brazil. But the whole journey was rich in the fact that once you're outside your comfort zone, you just experience all these other things. And in a technical sense, I was quite happy with this too, because it was like quite a slow shutter speed with a 400mm lens. I think it's like 15th of a second, and obviously sacrifice a lot of images to get that. But when you nail one, it's got this a little bit of more of an emotional connection, not only through the colors, but through the movement. So it also represents Brazil in its sort of vibrancy and, not just the vibrancy of life in Latin America, in South America. Yeah, but it was really, like I say, it was just part of that whole journey that was something, a friend actually invited me to go. He said, "Oh, would you like to go on a motorcycle trip?" And he knows I'll sort of put my hand up for anything. And I said, "Oh, I haven't got a motorcycle, I haven't got a license, and I've got no money. But yeah, I'm interested." So we ended up sort of pulling it all together. Basically getting a sponsor, getting, BMW loaned us the bikes and the whole deal. So it's almost like anything's possible if you're open to it. And I think we all experience that, and our photography becomes a vehicle for making that possible. And more importantly, for sharing that later. So as an image, I'm sort of happy with it, but in the fact that it represents that journey in a lot of ways is what was the exciting part about it. Normally I shoot surf, so it's a departure from that. So I didn't think I'd throw a surf shot in because that's a bit predictable.
So you have such a broad range of subjects that you shoot, and thank you for the beautiful book that you sent to me. This photo, I think the contrast between blurred motion and sharp silhouette is really what gives it such depth, and that the feathers almost look like smoke. They have that motion like it's expanding smoke. And yeah, it's just lovely image.
Ted,
yeah, and the sparkly highlights actually blur nicely to show movement, Sorry.
Yeah, Ted, I actually think the red feathers look like a wave.
Yeah, I was
All
about to say.
right, I couldn't get away from it.
Yep.
Beautiful.
They are a wave.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
you
off the
have a
red feathers were.
technique. I was just going to say, you have a technique with the wave, but that can translate to so many different environments, which it did for this, which is understanding motion and movement and how the really little person, whether it's a surfer or this woman, is involved with this, you know, magnificent event. And I think they both relate.
Oh, thank you.
It's amazing you could nail her in terms of focus while there's so much movement going around her. Did you, what was your shutter speed, did you say?
A 15th of a second on that, which is, and this, it was actually, I think it was shot on a Canon 100-400, and it had might have had stabilization in the lens. Well, not in the, which has improved much more now that they've got it in the body on the sensor. But it blew my mind when I, you know, like I say, you lose a lot of shots, but when you get that moment where someone's perfectly still, but the other aspects are moving, it was like, yeah, you're going to lose, you know, 50 shots to 1 sort of thing. So, but even the ones with full movement look fantastic. But once you nail the combination, I think it sort of works much better.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, did you have a question or a comment?
Nope.
Okay.
Amy's got a dress just like this, by the way. I've seen it.
Hey, Ted.
The New Year's Eve
like that.
New Year's.
Hey, Ted.
Yes.
Is she
I'm not
single?
sure if it's available. I'm not sure.
No, remember I got married underwater.
Okay, let's move along. By the way, I gotta say, Phil, your choice of words was interesting. You asked Ted that you nailed her, and what was the shutter speed? So I'm just saying, man, it can mean a lot of things.
Wow. You really need to get laid there.
Okay, never mind. Okay, guys. Okay. Before we get into trouble, the last image.
Well, yeah, you know, I think this is long enough ago that I can look at it without being attached to it. You know, it implies kind of what I feel every time I go out, that I'm on a journey. And it's been a great life so far. And I know we all share this. Every one of us share this as we go out with our cameras, and you wonder what's going to be presented to us and whether we've got the intellect and the instinct to seize the moment. And this was shot with film and in a different era. It was in the year that the World Trade Center came down. And after that, everything changed for ourselves as we travel the globe. But this was in January of 2001. It was on the Ganga, or the Ganges as we know. And it was in the ancient town of Varanasi or Benares. And it was one of those first trips for me to go to India and to shoot culture rather than tigers. I had been going to India for a number of years to photograph wildlife for various projects, but this was really specifically to go to the Kumbh Mela. In 2001, it was a big one. And there were a lot of pilgrims that were in and around Varanasi on their way to the Kumbh. I think it's upriver. But at any rate, I don't remember the gender of the person, and I'm glad I don't, because I look at this image and it was pre-visualized. In other words, I had been there for a couple of days and I marveled at the red orb of the sun coming up every day. You know, if you live in Seattle, it's rare to see the sun on the horizon. And so I saw this as a potential, and I kept going up and down the river looking for something to include with the sun, but it all happens in like a 5-second window from the time the sun comes out of the haze before it hits that area just above the blue haze, and it becomes too bright to actually expose for. So there's a 5-second window. There was this pilgrim on the river. I was working with a guide that spoke the local language because not everybody speaks English in India. And so I virtually pulled the boat up into the mud of the bank of the river, and through the interpreter asked the person to be absolutely still, because it was a shot at f/22 and virtually 1 second long. So it's an impossible candid shot. It's an impossibility to shoot a candid shot like this because people are moving and, so it had to be kind of staged, but that's okay, because to me, it implies the emotion of going beyond to some far reaches of the planet. And it just implies that in my own feeling. And so when I look at this image, it still brings back great memories, but it also is kind of my feeling about my life of always traveling to new destinations. And so that's what this image implies to me. And the fact you don't know the person's face, or it becomes neutralized so that anybody can empathize or put themselves into this situation. That's all I have to say.
Beautiful.
One of my favorite. Yeah.
And there's the illusion that it's heading towards the light, but obviously it's not heading towards the light because you'd be rowing this way. But that metaphor of light in your life is, pretty profound, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at back shooting film, and that almost, I don't want to say it was an innocent time, but certainly later that year, the world changed, the way we travel through airports, and it just began the whole way we have to travel beyond. And so back then, it was much easier, and yeah. So it's just one of those photos. And again, the memory of taking the picture is fading, but the image now allows me to get into it so objectively, as opposed to remembering every nuance of taking the picture. I can look at it almost as if I didn't take the picture. Now I can enjoy it as maybe other people would, because I'm putting myself into the situation as I would want anybody looking at this image. I think all of us strive to tap into the emotions of whoever ultimately views our images. We are communicators. And so if there's something that moves us enough to want to take the picture, then it will translate to the people that are ultimately looking at that picture. And Bandeep's first shot out of the gate of the gentleman, that great actor, in such a state of or mood, it just, everybody can just empathize with that image. And so, and what have I learned this year? Were you going to ask that question?
Yes.
Yeah, to me, I think what I've learned, and I've actually known for a long time, but this year I've had to practice it more, is to maintain a really positive attitude. And so there's a lot of misery out there. A lot of people have died. There's been a lot of stress with a racial injustice. There's been a lot of stress with international politics. But for me, the creative side has always rescued me. And so I've always maintained getting out and taking pictures, even if I photograph something that's really uninteresting in my garden. That process of taking pictures and putting it on my computer and seeing it come up and all those kind of things just keep me moving forward in a very upbeat, positive way. And like Nevada and many of you, we've been living a life very different than my last 40 years. I've never, and you absolutely nailed it on the head, Nevada, when you said time is spent differently, because I would go on a 2-week trip that every day and all day you're working your butt off, and you come home, and if you in the least bit would ever complain to your staff, they get out these tiny little violins and try to mock me for complaining. And now that I've stayed home, a week goes so fast here. 2 weeks go so fast. But when you're on the road, 2 weeks can seem like a month. And so the whole expansion of time when you're traveling is a very different thing than when you're home.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you know, Art, did you ever read that book? I think it was a long time ago in the 70s about the small things. And it was about this little, you know, larvae that turned into a caterpillar that went on to a leaf, and then it leaped to the cow tick and it missed and had to start over again. That had a big impact on my life, that we just have to just keep going. You have to keep going.
I haven't read
can I share a few words about this image? You know, I know this is the last image and we'll wrap up, you know, soon. This is the image to me that reminds me of art. You know, this image to me is art, Art Wolfe. And I saw this image in a gallery. I didn't know who Art was at that time, 15 years back. And I was driving in Seattle and I saw a studio, an art gallery, and this image was blown up. And I said, wow. I literally stopped, I parked, and I went inside. And luckily Art was there. And I started walking and Art and I shook hands. And then I asked him, this question is, Art, is this person a man or a woman? And in my heart, I was hoping it's not a man, it's a woman. And I'll tell you why. And he said, actually, I don't remember. And I said, that's fine. As long as it's not a man, that's fine. I don't want to know. And the reason for that is, first of all, it's a beautiful image. It's called, he told me about the name of the image. It's called Spiritual Journey. Even today, those words, spiritual journey, means so much. If you look at this image, in some ways, it's a perfect image to end our holiday episode on. As we leave 2020 behind and we look forward to 2021, it's going towards more light, more positivity. And the reason I felt that the sex was important in this one was because this is shot in River Ganga in Banaras. And River Ganga is feminine. It's the Ganges. It's the mother. It's the mother river. And the reason it's mother is because India is an agricultural country. It has 1.3 billion people, and it feeds water that gives yields rice and crop, and it's literally feeding India. And it's one of the largest rivers in the world. So it's feeding the world in some ways. All the wheat, all the rice that we eat, the basmati rice is coming from this river. And that's the mother, is giving birth to all of us. And I felt what a beautiful shot is. There is a representation on this boat of a person. I'm hoping it's a woman, and that's River Ganga herself. And that's why this image is absolutely special to me. And someday when I have a home, I've told Art, this is the image I'm going to buy and put it right in my home. So I just love this image.
There's something I want to add to this, Parimal, what you're saying. This is an incredibly metaphorical image, for me as well. This represents to me the whole idea of the Indian philosophy of the Bhav Sagar, which is the ocean of life, which is also interpreted as the ocean of temporal life. And in Indian context, in Indian thought, the entire emphasis of life is to cross through this ocean of temporal life to reach the other shore, which is your spiritual awakening. And this image for me is exactly that. And the metaphor of the boatman is again a very strong metaphor in the Indian context, where the teacher, the master, the guru is referred to as the boatman who takes you across the river of engagement and the river of temporal life. And for me, this is, the stillness in this image, while the image is absolutely still, there is for me a lot of movement in this image when it comes to you seeing the metaphor. I'm reminded of Tennyson's poem Ulysses, which has these lines that for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset, and seek knowledge like a sinking star beyond the utmost bound of human thought. And I again remember those beautiful lines that, yet all experience is an arc where through gleams that untraveled world. This is a phenomenal image to end this this thing. Thank you, Art, for this. This is.
Thank you, Bandeep. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And I just want to end on this note. It's been fantastic, to have you all be part of Earth is Our Witness. In fact, this idea that Earth is Our Witness is an idea that we have had for actually almost a decade. And we were going to launch, Art and I were going to launch this 4 years back. And the idea has always been photography is so much more than just beautiful images. It has so much meaning. And no matter what the genre is, if you peel the onion across the genre, it shows how interconnected things are. And it shows photographers are just not about just taking an image. It's just about actually in some ways driving incredible positive change in society, as explorers, as philosophers, as amazing human beings. So I just want to end with thank you to all the audience for all the support, for sharing this. Thank you to each and every one of you photographers that I actually have the privilege of calling you all my friends. Many of you I call and we talk hours. Bandeep is an example of that. I'll call and we'll talk, and we will not know when time goes by. Same with Art, same with so many of you. And I just want to say one final thanks is to Art himself to inspire me and many of you that clearly we have heard as well as our artists in residence. So Art, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, I thank you for that. And I need to really put the emphasis on Parimal. It's his original idea. He's done all the hard work, but he is also a really good photographer. And I've seen a lot of his work, and one of these occasions we've got to show you your work, because he does have credentials. I think he asks great questions. He's great at organizing and thinking through the whole process and putting in the hard work and staying up late to be able to talk to people in different places. But his work is very strong and very graphic. And so thank you, Parimal, for being, the creator of this whole enterprise.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, can I take a photo?
Yes.
Smile. You all look gorgeous.
Good to meet you all.
Thank you.
Can I just close one last thing? One last comment I want to make. And I think it was Nevada that kind of put the bug in my ear. We do live at a time where you go to the Taj Mahal or Mount Rushmore or wherever it may be. And so many people line up and get a picture of their fat head in front of the very thing that they come to see. And, for me, I've spent a lifetime caring about photography and teaching a lot of classes and giving lectures around the world. I care so much about photography at the time that it seems to be so cheapened as, you pick up so many people are holding up iPads and taking pictures without even composition or thought. And it's like, maybe I shouldn't be complaining, because if they're enjoying themselves, at least they're enjoying themselves. But photography is a fine, fine art form. And all of you tonight have demonstrated that. So I'm so honored to be amongst my colleagues. So thank you, guys and gals.
Thank you for this.
Thanks, Art.
Thank you.
Thank you, Parimal. Thank you, Art.
Parimal. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Great night.
Mele Kaliki Maka.
Mele Kaliki Maka. And a hui nui dui. I don't know how the other Happy New Year.
So next year we'll do the same thing, and we've got many more photographers lined up, and we'll talk about that.
And we're going to have you, yes, and we're going to have you for the next round as well. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, many of you, all of you will come back. Just stay safe out there just a little longer, so we'll get back on the road.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Christmas.
you.
Have a
Merry
great
Christmas.
time.
Thank you.
Christmas.
Great New Year.